So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to deal with serious losses in life. Life crisis that is so big that it has disrupted your position completely. And I have had a few times this happen to me, so I'm going to share some insights about how I got out of a downward spiral that is so intense that people can actually become suicidal and go into deep depression. And I was in that spot and how I got out of it. So I was 5 years old when my father got diagnosed with cancer, and by the age of 9, I lost him. And I was raised by a single mother after that, and she is Indian, so she wasn't supposed to go out and work, but she was forced to go out and work. And at the age of 9, I was put into a boarding school away from all the problems. It felt like I was away from all the problems, but boarding school itself had a lot of problems with violence, beating, teachers beating me, seniors beating me up, and a whole kind of, chain of events that did not seem like they were going to end ever for me. Subjectively, if I look at it, the child's mind, I felt like things were never going to get better in my life. And on top of it, my mother went into debts to pay for my brother's education. She borrowed around $50,000, which she did not have, and it was a loan that was excruciatingly painful to pay off. And I was trying to survive in this environment where she's working constantly and I'm alone at home, and very naturally I fell into bad company. I started drinking a lot, I started smoking a lot, I started experimenting with drugs when I was very young, and things were not going in a good direction for me. In fact, whenever I thought about the future, I only had negative thoughts. So I'm gonna give you a framework how to deal with something that can completely impact you like this. And due to what happened, due to losing my father, I was supposed to maintain this fake mask of everything is all right and not expressing my tears. Because the moment that incident happened where I lost my father, I was sent to boarding school and I had to wake up at 5:30 a.m. and do all my things since the age of 9. So how did I get out of it, and how can you get out of it if something of this nature happens? First of all, these types of situations tend to be very downward spiral oriented, meaning one thing bad happens and then there's going to be another. For example, I lost my father, then my mother had to take financial responsibilities, financial obligations, skyrocketed. She went into debts, which created more problems. There was no role model in the family. That created more problems. And I went to boarding school. That created more problems. That created emotional pain. And I became vulnerable to substances. And with that, it created more problem. So there was a cause and effect scenario that happened that just did not stop. And at some point I sat down and I turned my whole life around. So here is how you do it. Step number 1 is you gotta confront it. For a long time I was in denial and I didn't want to confront it. So you want to look at the situation for what it is, and you gotta identify the areas of losses. For example, for me, it was loss of role model, loss of financial situation, not being with my mother, etc., etc. So you got to really confront it and look at the situation and not run away from it. It's also good to communicate about it and shed some tears. It's okay. You can speak to someone that you have confidence in, a relationship that you may have with a best friend or with a family member that you feel comfort in. And to communicate is extremely, extremely important. The other thing I would do is I would take a little bit of break to plan, strategize, and come up with a solution for the areas that I identified which were at loss. So you want to write down kind of a plan for your dream life. Okay, this thing happened, it has left a void in my life. Now here I am in a very bad position, in a position of a breakdown where everything is disrupted and everything is in chaos. What do I want happen from here? How do I want my future to be? Past was a mess, present may be a mess, but future is in my hands. So you got to know and understand that no matter how bad things seem like, how negative things seem like, the future is still in your control. And you have to assume that position, because that it is the case. The future is in your control. So you want to write down a dream scenario. If in a perfect world, how do you want your health to be like, your mental state to be like, your finances to be like, your lifestyle to be like, and how do you want that same thing for people around you also? But you are first in the line. You always have to take care of yourself first. You know, the analogy of when you go into an airplane, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So you got to take care of yourself first. The other thing that I have noticed is sports help. The moment I went into yoga, a lot of the things started to change in my life, because my body started to become healthy, my mind started to become healthy, and the vulnerability of my emotional pain was no longer there. And I stopped getting drawn to substances, because I had a way to channel that pain into exercise and yoga, and you can do the same with sports. So physical activity will help quite a lot in this, and it helped me. I was practicing yoga for 8 years, and that got me out of substances. Then it got me out of bad environment. It put me in a good environment around people who are very supportive, and it uplifted me. So the other factor is good people around you who have very upbeat attitude towards life, very positive attitude, like sportsmen, gym, people who go to the gym, people who play sports, people who practice yoga, meditation. And you could join a group like that or an environment like that where people like this exist that can uplift you. And I have been seeking these environments all my life, because I know the benefit it can bring. And I was in a bad environment, and environments, bad or good, are just as powerful. I was in a bad environment and I was in a downward spiral. I changed the environment, suddenly everything changed. So environment is very powerful, people are very powerful. So you want to have people who can lift you up, and they don't necessarily have to speak to you, just by example. You see someone doing a lot of exercise that inspires you, and that can awaken a different lease of energy. And obviously when you go to a place like a gym or exercise, you see everybody working out, and that does something. The energy is very high in the room, and that will catch on to you, and you will be run by that. So, and the final step is you want to get yourself a mentor. Not one mentor, but several mentors in different areas of life. Once you have identified what you want, the dream scenario, you want to identify someone who is in the position you want to be in, and you want to get them to mentor you. So for my emotional health, physical health, I modeled and I was trained by Sadhguru. I don't know if you've heard about Sadhguru. For my financial life, I was trained by Dan Pena and Robert Kiyosaki and several other mentors that I had, virtual mentors who have left a body of work that can help you and guide you. And I paid the big bucks to secure them, so that I can be held by the hand and taken, to wherever I want. And that is something that has been my escape. And that has something that has accelerated my growth tremendously. And if I did not have my mentors, I would not have been able to get out of that situation. Starting from the age of 9, And then since the age of 17, I have had several mentors, because the power of a role model, you know, when you're down, when you are on the knees, when you are hurting and there is no hope, and you see someone who's living your dream life, you see someone you want to be like, you want to trade places with them. So those types of people can completely transform your position, because they can tell you they can provide that external perspective, because they're not in the same situation as you and they're in a good position. So they can look into your situation and they can bring a different energy into that situation. And there is nothing wrong with taking support of people who are in positions of power. Our power is derived by other people. So make sure you create those collaborations, those relationships, and turn the whole thing around into your dream scenario. So this is how I did it. So step number 1, confront it. Step number 2, take some time to think, reflect, and recover. Step number 3, write down your dream scenario, what you want happen now from here, and how do you recover from those losses. Step number 4, write down an execution plan. Step number 5, exercise, do some sport, change the environment. Step number 6, communicate with people around you, someone that you trust, someone you feel comfortable with. Share with them what's happening with you. That's going to help a lot. And final step, find a role model you want to be like, and position yourself around that person. You may have to pay for it, that's fine. You may have to do a course, that's fine. But find an environment where there are other people who want to improve their life, and that will catch on to you. So if you like the video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon.